Well, Merry Christmas. Christmas is all about being in the kitchen. It's all about our favorite baked goods usually, those candies, those wonderful things. But it's also about those times where you get together with family, with friends, and have kind of one of those great savory, maybe kind of pick and eats and as you go along and boards. So this is a great cranberry cheese log. I mean, it's pretty much a cheese ball. And if you know what I mean, a good cheese ball is just so delicious because you can take crackers or bread, just dip and spread. But this one has a little bit of a different twist with the cranberry. And I think it's so delicious because one, it feels festive, it's seasonal, but it's just really good, and that's kind of the point. So to start, we're gonna make a quick cranberry jam kind of sorts to have with it and kind of mix in. We're gonna start with fresh cranberries. Now, when you're working with fresh cranberries, I always like to look through them. You know, if you see ones that are going really soft or have bad spots, you can always just remove them or that kind of look weird. And so I'll kind of go through them and check. Otherwise, put a few right into a little kettle. And you know what? You can even sometimes find a little stem on one. You wanna pick that off too. But just kind of wash them, clean them, make sure they're good. Now, to that, we're gonna add very simple ingredients, but they each matter, so don't think they do. So to start, we're gonna do some orange zest. Now, orange, cranberry, you know, if it's a baked good, no matter what it is, orange really brings out kind of those cranberry notes. Cranberries on their own can be pretty tart, so you want things that kind of bring out their flavor and kind of just like go well with it and complement it, but aren't too much. So that's why we're gonna add some orange zest. And I love how the zest has those essential oils, so you just wanna take off just the topping and leave that white and then just kind of knock it right in there. And then after we put in the zest, we're gonna put in some of the juice, not too much, but you want some of that acidity, kind of some of that bright flavor. So we're gonna just squeeze in some of the juice. This is honestly very similar to what we would do at Thanksgiving with a cranberry sauce. We're gonna do a little bit of ginger. I think just a little bit, not too much. Just a little bit goes a long way here. And fresh in this case is very different than the dried. I think it adds a much more kind of pungency, but also it has just a completely different note on your kind of mouth and tongue. So we're gonna add a little bit of fresh ginger, a little bit, and we're talking a very small amount of some brown sugar. And I like brown sugar in this case as opposed to a honey or maple syrup because it just has that nice undertone of sweetness without any type of flavor. And then a splash of white wine. Now, I know, you know what, it adds a little bit of that acidic note, but also kind of an underlying sweetness. You can do whatever you drink. Type doesn't really matter. It's just a small amount to kind of get it going and kind of just balance out all the flavors. So we're gonna bring this to a low simmer on the stove. And when we do that, I always like to make sure to cover them because as things start cooking, usually the cranberries pop. And not that they'll pop out of the pan, but little splatters and squirts. So I'm gonna let that cook until it's just thickened, which takes like not even 10 minutes. It's just starting to simmer, and so that means all the cranberries are gonna start popping. Now, they have so much pectin in them that they thicken up pretty quickly once they start cooking. So we're gonna let them mostly pop, and it's just gonna slowly thicken into a beautiful, kind of like quick sauce or jam, and then we'll be done. So this is finished cooking, and at first it looks a little runny still, but honestly, as I put it into another container to let it cool, it's gonna really thicken up. And I like to have a few pieces of the cranberries still, but it kind of just breaks down. And you can see how quickly it becomes a jam, which is really nice. That's what I love about cranberries. So versatile and delicious. Like we should just all be making cranberry sauce, jam all the time. So I'm gonna let that cool, and while that's cooling, we can start talking about the actual components here. So when you're making a cheese log, a cheese ball, there's usually a main ingredient that binds it all together, and it's cream cheese. Cream cheese has that power. And it also, what's great about cream cheese is there's a sweetness to it, but it also has that tang. So it really kind of is good in offsets, can go savory or sweet really easily. So with the cream cheese, I'm gonna just start by kind of just mixing up and making sure it's smooth. Even though it has sat out to get a little bit closer to room temperature and get softer, it can sometimes be hard to get really smooth. So I'm gonna let it get a little smooth, and then we'll add even more goodness. So it's mixed up, and you can see it's pretty smooth, but you also wanna scrape it because when there's small amounts in a big mixing bowl, it just pushes it to the side, but look how soft and smooth that is. That's gonna make everything just mix together really easily. And really, anytime you work with cream cheese, it's kind of the best way to do it. So I'm scraping it off, and then we're gonna talk about all these great things that are being added to it. So one, since we're going kind of this cranberry, sweet, tart, tangy kind of deliciousness, I wanna really have something that offsets that, and that's some goat cheese. Now, I know, there's gonna be some people out there that say, I don't like goat cheese, but have you tried it with cream cheese? because it makes it creamier. It gives you just a little bit of that tang, but it doesn't overpower. And that's the thing, sometimes goat cheese can be really strong, but this is a great way to mix it in. So with the goat cheese, usually a cheese ball has some type of, you know, more traditional cheese. So I'm gonna use a cheddar. And again, what I like about the cheddar is, I'd like it, one, to be white here because I don't want to add any, you know, yellow cheddar is just colored. And the thing is, we're adding that cranberry that's going to really color it, so you don't want another color in here. But what I like is the cheddar flavor has a slight sharpness to it. And again, it stands up well against the goat cheese, against the cream cheese, and the actual cranberry. So you want all those components to work together. So I'm shredding it so we can just have it mix in with everything else really easily. I don't like to buy pre-shredded because the pre-shredded usually has some coatings on it, has stabilizers kind of with it, and it just doesn't always, to me, mix in well. This is just a good block of cheese that then we can add right into the mixer here. And then that way it will have all that good flavor. It won't have any of that coating on it or that powderiness that sometimes can get on it. So we're gonna add in all the little scraps too, because I'm messy when I shred. And we're gonna mix this up until it's well combined. Not fully smooth because we have the cheese in there now. So you can see it's all mixed together. It has a little bit of texture because we're adding in now that shredded cheese, but it still becomes pretty well incorporated and kind of somewhat homogeneous, which I like. So what we're gonna do now is add a little bit more of the flavoring. We have the cheeses, but you want some more flavor just to kind of give you that more savory notes. So one, we need a little bit of salt. You need to have some salt in this to really kind of offset all these flavors and bring them out. Along with that, a little bit garlic powder. Okay, this time of year, you don't want a lot, but you want enough that, you know, you're really gonna notice it, but also kind of not be able to pull it out. It just kind of flavors it like garlic should. I mean, who doesn't have garlic powder and onion powder a little bit on this hand this time of year? Because if you're making Chex Mix, party mix, whatever it is, you should have both of these. So, and they usually dry out quickly, which someone once told me, a good trick, store it upside down because then no air can get in and no moisture should be able to get in and kind of cause them to clump. The last component that I love, some horseradish. Now, we're not doing it so strong that it becomes spicy or like burns your nose, but what the horseradish really does is it plays extremely well with the cranberry. So we're gonna add in some prepared horseradish, which you can buy usually in the deli department. It's already ground up. It has nothing added to it, no creams, nothing. It's really gonna give a great flavor with just a slight spice. Nothing strong, just a little bit of a tickle on the tongue, and that's what you want. So we're gonna mix those in, which takes no time here. And then we are really going to change the color. So we have our cooled cranberry. Now look what happened here. This became so thick and beautiful, and that's what you want. And so what we're gonna do, it's gonna become red, it's gonna become festive, but it's also gonna become so much flavor. We're gonna add this right in there, that cooled deliciousness, and we're gonna mix that in, which at first is gonna look messy, but then it's gonna come together. Now what you can see is a really festive color for one, and that's what I actually really love about this. But more so, what you're gonna taste is a delicious kind of festiveness to it, and that is what makes this an amazing cheese log. So the color, of course, looks like maybe you would have dyed it, but you didn't, and that's the best part, is it's actually that cranberry kind of jam, chutney almost, we made that's gonna really kind of create the backdrop. Now, you see the pieces of cheddar in there, but we made sure that our cream cheese was not lumpy, that we had all of that smooth, so you just get like all those different cheeses. And by now, the goat cheese is just playing kind of an accompanying role, but it doesn't stick out. And so that will make someone like my mom, who thinks she doesn't like goat cheese, it'll make her happy because this she will still like. So I'm gonna do a final mix here, just to kind of make sure on the sides, we got all of those pieces and all that up. So before we kind of shape this, which is a mess in itself, I have it ready to go, but we need to talk about what's gonna coat it. Because a cheese ball, a cheese log should be coated. It doesn't have to be. You could wrap this up, chill it, and be ready to go. I like to make sure, one, that it looks kind of festive. So I have some toasted pecans here. They add flavor, but they're also just gonna kind of finish everything off and kind of cover everything up. So I'm just gonna put them in a little chopper here, which I like to do just because it helps it kind of just chop up easier that way. So I'm gonna pulse them until we get a decently fine grind on them. Few pulses, we're pretty much good to go. What I like is when you toast them first, you get then a lot of flavor out of them. So you can smell that right here. And when we put them back in here, look at that beautiful texture on them. That's gonna really do well at kind of encasing our whole log. So what I'm gonna slowly do is I'm gonna have messy hands. And guys, sometimes that's just what it takes. You could put this also, if you didn't wanna have to go through all this, you could put it into a plastic wrap it up into kind of a log. You could make a ball out of it. But I think there's something that's just a little bit more fun. Now bear with me, because it is messy. You're gonna put it in your hand. Now you can put gloves on. What we're gonna do is we're gonna shape kind of a rough log out of it here first. Now, this log though, as we do it, we're kind of, whatever size you want. So whatever you're gonna do. Now some people would love to give this as a gift, which I think is awesome. Now you see what I did there was put it right on the nuts, because then it's not gonna be sticking to anything. So you can at that point kind of smooth it off. But I left myself a little bit in here. So a Buche de Noel, the dessert, the great cake that looks kind of like it's a stump. We're gonna kind of do that with this. So what we're gonna do is kind of create on here what would be, a piece of a tree trunk coming out, and now this is a branch, and maybe do one more to kind of offset that. And kind of do it maybe more towards the back. It's arts and crafts meet food here. And that's what it's all about. So to me, when you're coming around the holidays here, it's all about having fun, but it's all about kind of making, not an impression, but just like a fun time for everyone you're having over. Whether it's a holiday meal, whether it's some type of just special evening that you're having. So what I'm gonna do now, just so the nuts don't stick all over my hands, is I'm gonna wash my hands. We're gonna come back, we're gonna coat everything with these nuts, and we're gonna let it chill. But look how it already is looking like a tree trunk you find out in the woods. So what I'm doing now is just kind of taking a spoon and just taking all those nuts, kind of putting them over it, pressing them in and around, and just making sure it all gets coated. So once it's coated, it becomes much more non-stick. Your hands can stay cleaner, and you can see what we're doing is just taking those nuts and just making sure to kind of press them in everywhere. And you kind of maybe have to move it a little bit, but once it starts becoming encased, it to me becomes this really pretty kind of tree-like trunk. And honestly, I'm gonna admit, it kind of seems like a lot of work, so you wouldn't have to do the whole thing, but it's a lot quicker than you think. Once you have it shaped, you could even chill it at that point, so it's a little easier to handle, but I like to just get it all out of the way, get all the work done here. And what I like is when you come in close, do you see a little bit of that color? I just think that's beautiful. It just gives you that festiveness. And so you might need to pick it up, kind of move it around, just make sure you're kind of getting up in all those areas, because this is what makes it fun, and this is what makes it more like a cheese ball. I feel like it harkens back to that whole 1950s, 60s, 70s, when people are making all those great appetizers, which I think we should bring back. And that's what this is doing. Now, what we're gonna do is once it's coated, we're gonna put it on something and put it just to chill. It firms everything up, and I think a cheese ball gets the best flavor once it chills and has time to kind of have all the components, the spices, the flavorings just really work throughout all the different cheeses. So I'm just gonna pop it over to either something you wanna serve it on or just something clean. We're gonna go chill it. Look at that stump though. Is that not fun? We're gonna chill it, we're gonna set it all up. I pulled the log out of the fridge. It's been firming up, but also the flavors have been mixing. And I made a quick charcuterie board, or really it's just a snack board, cheese plate, whatever you have here. I have some cheese on there. I have some fig spreads, some different types of crackers. I love the seedy ones with lots of different things going on. Olives, dried fruits, some cured meat. It's kind of everything. And then we have the whole point here, this beautiful kind of log that you can kind of off center and just enjoy. It's beautiful, and it's just festive and fun, and you can kind of just pick whatever you want and you can just try it, and that's what I love. So I actually know I want one of these seedy crackers. I do, I love these. And you can just take some and look, once you do, I need to spin this so you can see it, because this is just so pretty inside. You get that beautiful color, you get some of the cheddar cheese with it, you get all those components in there. This made me so happy. One, because who doesn't love a snack plate? I want one of these in my life every day. But two, what I love is the flavor symphony that is going on in my mouth right now. Like that wordplay, flavor symphony, it's good. What I love is, you would be a little scared of the horseradish thinking, I don't like horseradish. Try it in here. It is not strong, it is not astringent, it is just bringing out all those flavors. You get a slight tartness of the cranberry, but then also a sweetness from it. You get the delicious cheddar, you get the cream cheese. Most of all, you get the pecan. And it all comes together and is honestly just delicious. So what do I hope you do with this? I hope you have friends over. I hope you have a festive Christmas party of some sort. Maybe it's another holiday party, whatever you have going on, and I hope you enjoy something like this because it's fun to put together. This is the only component that we actually had to make. All the others you can just buy, filter in, and it looks like a great thing that came together. So try this out, share this video around because yeah, that of course helps me, but it helps everyone see this is doable. You can make a board like this at home. You can make an amazing cheese log in the middle and the festive color to boot and have fun with it. That's the point. Check my website, wiseguy.com, for this recipe. All my other recipes always on the website. Christmas or not, they're all there. And until next time, have a Christmas party, have a holiday party, have whatever you want. Just enjoy something good.